Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unregulated Leadership Podcast. I'm Samantha Tripp, one of your co-hosts, and I also have my co-host here. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I am Darcel Hunt-Feingold.
Hello, and we have an incredible guest with us today. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Corey Coffey.
Love that. So, Corey, can you give us a little bit of backstory? Where are you from? What do you do? Give us all the goods.
Yeah. I'm from upstate New York originally. I grew up there. I had a small family, just my parents and my sister, and we grew up with, I guess the most interesting thing was my mom did exotic animal rescue, so we grew up with a house full of animals and monkeys and, lots of crazy things that I grew up with. But I played a lot of sports growing up, specifically focused on tennis. That kind of brought me to the college that I was going to, play competitive tennis all through college, and I studied physics there, and ended up in the concentration in astrophysics, and then ended up coming to Florida for grad school, and I got my master's in space science. And right after grad school, I got the job that I've been at for the last 15 years, which is I'm the course director of physical science at Full Sail University. And I have a couple other jobs as well.
Yes. Lots of other jobs.
I have lots of other jobs. So I'm an online teacher, so I have a lot of flexibility in my time. So I teach at a couple other online universities as well. I teach some astronomy and physics classes there. And then I'm also a personal trainer and a yoga instructor, and I coach tennis in my off time.
I love that. Just because you were talking about astronomy and things like that, will you tell us about your tattoo?
Oh, sure. I have quite a few. Yeah. So actually my first tattoo that I got is on my shoulder, and I got it in college. And the reason that I got it is because when I was going through a difficult time in college, I was struggling with some of the coursework. It was a lot, a physics degree is pretty taxing. And I was just I don't know if I'm where I'm at or where I'm supposed to be. And I was talking to my advisor, and she was giving me a lot of stuff. And so she's just stick with it. She's you're doing fine. Just stick with it, do it. And I was I'm just going to get an astronomy tattoo, and that'll make me stay in it. So I got a constellation on my shoulder, and that led to a series of smaller tattoos. And then this one kind of came around a little later, but I got this one first. I went to a tattoo artist and told him, kind of about myself, and I kind of let him design it, and just kind of put full trust in him. And he designed this cool, kind of celestial thing. It looks like the solar system, but it's not exactly, but it looks like kind of like an old star chart type thing. And then it just kind of kept building from there. It's still a work in progress. I need to kind of fill in some stuff, but I kind of now, I got this one next, and it's kind of the more beyond celestial. It's got the goddess on there. It's got the galaxies and stuff. And then this is more the kind of straight celestial. And then this goes to Earth, where there's, trees and stuff. So
I love it.
So it all kind of coming together there.
It looks so cool. That's actually how I found out that you were into astronomy and teaching, and I had no idea. I knew you as Corey, the yoga instructor.
Funny, yeah. I feel so segmented in a lot of my life. People know me from one section, and then they're oh, you do this other thing, but yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've had a lot of different experiences. So the personal training, the yoga instructor, and then they can be related, but for some people it's totally other way, this academic, right?
Yeah.
And a college professor. And so you've had a lot of experiences over the last, 15, 20 years. You said you're, including college and how that went for you. So out of all of that, you've kind of morphed every area you're in, you're a different form of yourself, right? You're a leader.
Yeah.
And so out of whatever experience you want, whether it's at your current job or with the personal training, what would you consider has been your biggest leadership fail that you learned from? You got a lesson out of?
Totally. So the example that comes to mind is something that I still think about, but it's from my job as a course director. So at Full Sail, I lead a team of 7 or 8 instructors, depending on the month. We kind of shift around a little bit, but so my responsibility is to manage the physical science class and then kind of lead the instructors for that course. And it's the largest class at Full Sail, so we have the most instructors. So in that, one of the things that comes to mind first is I had this experience where I was pretty early on in my leadership role. I had just kind of been moved into it. And I was working with, it was an instructor that is one of the ones that kind of floats around from class to class. So it's not someone that I was always working with. And he had an incident, was having an interaction with a student that the student was complaining a lot about a grade, actually started using some like harassing language and was like really being pretty awful to my instructor. And it ended up being, it turned out that the student was actually a faculty member that was taking a class there.
Oh, gosh.
And so instead of like the normal route that like students usually take, which is like we can usually resolve things like within the team, and then like if it escalates, it goes to me, and then if we need further, then it goes like beyond that. Mm-hmm. But because this student was a faculty member, they went immediately, I don't know if it was right above me or 2 steps above me, but somewhere over me. And the situation kind of got discussed like without me in it. And then the communication that came down was that I should give the student what they wanted. And so my first reaction was like, just in my gut, like I felt like that was wrong. Like I didn't disagree with what my instructor was doing. I felt like my instructor was being harassed and unfairly spoken to by this, just put in a bad situation. And because I was new and just didn't, have my voice fully there yet, I didn't say anything. And, I told the instructor what they were supposed to do. That came down from, the leadership above me. And they felt, I could tell, very hurt and unsupported by this because, they were the ones that were really they were not in the wrong. They were doing everything right and by the book. And so I felt really poorly about that. And I never said anything in that moment to like my supervisor or the one above him, because I just didn't know how to yet. And so I think that it felt like such a failure and still feels like such a failure because I felt like a trust was broken with that employee because they felt like, they couldn't come to me for support. And like, even if they were doing everything right, that they weren't going to get like backed up by me. So I've really, in incidents since then, I've really tried to, trust that gut reaction, speak my mind when I feel like, something is going on that it's not correct. And I really try to support my instructors. Like we try to, of course, support our students as well. But there's an extent to where like, it's not, student's always right, the instructor's not always right. So trying to be more a little objective on that situation. So that's one that I still think about.
That's tough. I always say it's like, it's not that you failed, it's like what happens next.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you were able to take it and learn from it.
And I think we talked about this as well, but I really feel failure is just an opportunity. Like, it's like, there's like this, we did a workout that was to failure. That was like, we kind of talked about like how, I learn more from my failures than I do from my successes. So it's, that was, one moment where I felt like I did, fail in that moment. But since then, because it happened, I think I've made better choices because of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that. And I just want to expand a little bit on the, like, to failure in the workout.
Yeah.
It's like, she's like, I want you to fail. I want you to fail in this workout.
We're planning failure.
We're planning for it.
Yeah.
And I was like in my head, I'm like, I don't know about this. But I was on board, right?
Yeah,
and
you were,
it's interesting. Since then, I did a workout with my friend the other day, and I was like, Corey said I need to just like do it full on until I fail, and it's just such a different way of looking at it. I think, especially like in the US, we're so like everything has to be perfect and so good, and like we're not going to do things unless we know we're not going to fail.
Right.
But where's the lesson?
Yeah, exactly. And then you also know, like, and especially in the context of like that workout, like it's like, where your limits are.
Yeah.
You might be able to do more than you think you can, which I think most people can. So I think that like, trying to push to that point is so important for people to realize, what they can do.
And I think when I said it before, like, maybe people see these as like two opposite things that you do, but there's an alignment in that. The failure at, at one place, which is like the university, and then in a fitness studio, like
totally,
how failure, regardless of what is the, you know, the backdrop of it. Like you still are able to kind of see that you go through it. Like you want it to happen because you're learning from it. Can you see like where you kind of like cross?
Totally. Yeah. And I especially, I tell all my like the high school kids that I coach and like all that kind of stuff, like I learn, and I do some leadership coaching like at my school and stuff now, and still so many of the lessons that I have are from sports, like in fitness and stuff. And it's just like, it's kind of this like little microcosm of humanity. You're like in like a game or a match and like you have to kind of figure things out just like in this like short period of time. But a lot of that, those lessons that you learn from that can be expanded into other areas of life if you're just kind of looking for those connections. But I often times find myself even like in leadership coaching and stuff being like, you know, like in a tennis match when you do this and they're like, I don't play tennis. Well, it doesn't matter. Like, this is, so I think we can all kind of find connections across. So yeah.
I love that.
And it's another reason why I think it's so important for people to, you know, especially kids to like play sports and be part of that. But that's another topic. But yeah.
I love that you're able to bring that experience. And from what I know of you, you are such an authentic person. Like I think you bring yourself into all of those things. So I'm curious, how does that show up? Like as a leader, how does that authenticity happen in those spaces?
Well, I really appreciate you saying that because that's one of the things that is most important to me. Like we've done like those, you know, in like leadership trainings and stuff where you like pull out the cards and like you pick the things that are like your most important priorities and stuff. And mine's always like truth, honesty, like authenticity, like that kind of stuff is always kind of falls in there. And I just think, I mean, it is a trust thing. I really believe in telling people how you feel and who you are, and just that makes it easier to like build connections and you know and to lead and like to build that trust. I had one of the most impactful conversations that I had like regarding this was it was early on in that role. I was kind of stepping into more leadership roles earlier on in my career, and I was talking to a friend of mine. He was actually a stand-up comedian. And I was just talking about like I have a fear of public speaking, which is hilarious because I do it all the time now. But like growing up, it was a real big problem. I was telling him that like, you know, I was still kind of nervous, especially when I was in front of like colleagues and people. Like in front of students, I was like didn't feel it as much, but in front of like colleagues or like my supervisors and stuff, like I would just get like a lot of anxiety, and I go up there and I feel like I was kind of like, you know, fake it till you make it, like kind of thing, which, you know, can work sometimes. But he was like, why don't you just tell them like up front, like just say like, hey, like I'm a little nervous. You guys are all awesome. Like, and, you know, I just, you know, want to present this to you. And that was just like one example, but I've started doing that a lot. Like if I have like some sort of like uncertainty, or if I feel nervous, or like if I don't know an answer, I just say it. Like, I'm just like, I'm not here to like put on a show or try to, you know, hide anything from anyone. I just want to and tell everyone, you know, your own vulnerabilities too. And I think everyone kind of can connect to those, and you make deeper connections that way and build trust with your employees when they know that you're telling them the truth. So that's what I try to do.
I love what you said about like building relationships too. Like you signal to people that they matter when you build those like authentic relationships with each other. I think that goes such a long way in building that trust.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you're talking about how you just say up front that, you know, I don't know this. And I feel that a lot of times leaders may not do that because you do feel like you are playing a persona. Like there's a shoes you have to fill. There's like a look or an attitude you have to have as a leader. And so when you're saying like, oh, like I don't feel like, or I'm nervous, like I think, you know, it warms the crowd up to you. They feel connected, but it's a leadership like attitude that I don't think is very common. So like that leads to like the idea of this podcast of being like an unregulated leader. So for you, what does it mean to be an unregulated leader?
So I don't know if I would have described myself like that before thinking about it, but I like the way that you like just explained it and kind of say like, you know, like maybe being authentic isn't so like, it's a little bit more unregulated and like just like showing people fully who you are. But when I thought about like, you know, the name of this podcast and like how that shows up for me, I kind of thought more about like how I approach like my relationships with my like direct reports and my employees and stuff, because I really dislike micromanagement. I don't like being micromanaged. I don't like having to micromanage people. I really feel that I think that if you have the right person in the job, then you should let them do it.
Yeah.
And that's like a lot of this, like when it comes from someone like that first example, when it comes from higher up, and then you kind of have to monitor it that way. But so I think that I like to, have people trust me enough to be a little bit unregulated, like maybe still work within the framework of whatever institution or, of course, in a, safe and a productive way, but allowing me to do my job in the way that I want to do, in the way that is most authentic to me. And I want to also give that to my employees and the people that I work with as well. I want them to be able to handle problems in their own way, not the way that I think they should handle them, and do their work, their grading, all like anything that a component of their job. I want them to be able to do that without me over top of them telling them how to do it, unless they ask. I can give input, but I think everyone should be in their own.
Yeah, I mean, and what happens if you're not there to guide them?
Exactly.
Like,
Right. Yeah.
You're giving them the tools they need to be successful.
Right. Yeah.
People don't think that way.
Yeah. I mean, and even like as far as like little things as like with like schedules, like I understand that a lot of people have to be, at a job like 9 to 5 and that kind of stuff. But like the way that our job, especially like in online education works, like I like allowing people to kind of make their own schedule and like do things like whenever they feel the best, or like as long as they're getting their work done, like I don't feel like I need to be like on top of you to like be, doing this every single second. And I really want people to have their own like full lives as well. So like, if that means getting out for like a workout or going out and spending time with your family, like in the middle of the day, then I think that is important. And maybe that's a little unregulated too, but yeah.
I think it's like you're empowering your employees to have like that self-leadership.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. That's what I hope.
I love that. That's beautiful. So we're at the end of our time together, but we do want to ask one last question.
Okay.
And I think I know the answer to this, but we'll tell the crowd.
Okay.
What do you like to do on a sunny Saturday afternoon?
So it's me. First of all, I'm a morning person. So most of my activity is going to happen in the morning. So I like to get up early. I like to go run. I like to, do all my stuff, my yoga, all that stuff in the morning. And then in the afternoons, I really, on a Saturday afternoon when I'm free, I was like, when does that happen? No. So I have I don't think I mentioned, but I have a 4-year-old son. He's almost 5. So we like to do a lot of, I like to be active. I like to do a lot of things, and we like to do different things. So we like to go around and explore. I always kind of look for events that are going on. I love like little like craft shows and events. And this like past weekend we went and we found this little trail and did like a little mini hike to the river. And then we ended up in Cocoa Village and did like the Pirate Museum magic show, like, just kind of stuff like that. So I like going around just exploring. I don't like to be bored. And I have a hard time sitting around, which is good for a 4-year-old's energy.
Yeah. I love that. That sounds incredible. Like sign me up for the pirate show and the magic
it was honestly,
show.
like the best afternoon. I was like, we didn't have any plans of any of it happening, and it just kind of all fell into place, but it was really fun.
How did I miss that?
Happens almost every Saturday down there, so yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It was really nice.
Amazing. All right.